5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Coming to you from the colourful and smoky stage of the internet, this is the Melodramatics. 3 insane minds discussing all things theatre. Now, shookers, and let's start the show! Hi all, and welcome to the Melodramatics. This is a new podcast where we all look at theatre. I'm here with the diva, Lauren Hagen.
Woo!
And I am your host, Benji Rag. We normally have a third person on, but unfortunately she lives up in the country and her internet was really shitty, so she couldn't join us today. Instead of 3 insane minds, it's going to be 2 insane minds. So I'm Benji Rag. I met Lauren. We started a theatre company together where we do verbatim theatre. We thought it'd be fun to do a podcast where we sort of research different parts of theatre and talk about them. So for this episode, we're going to be looking at directing, the sort of chief whip of the theatre. And Lauren, what do you think the main role of the director is?
I think their main role is obviously to direct, and by that is having the creative reins to kind of tell the actors and the crew or whoever you're working with on, I guess, in theatre, that play or performance. You're directing it so it comes out, I guess, in a way that you want. You might have a vision, but you don't know what the end product will be, but you're making it all kind of work.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think it's sort of the main creative brain of the of the play. They're the person who has control over all the creative aspects and the output of everyone else. So I have some different types of directing, and I was wondering, do you want to go through them together?
Yeah.
So first off, we have the dictator. In this style of directing, the director has a strong assertive role and is very dominant in the processes of creating theatrical work. Rehearsals are more or less fully controlled and predictable, with the actors having little or no say. That is the sort of director that I am in, obviously.
The asshole is the common name for it.
When I direct, I remember one time there was a little guy who came. He must have been about 16, and he told me during the rehearsals that his parent had died. So I took him backstage and I said to him, "Listen here, you little piece of shit. I killed your parent to motivate you. Don't make me kill your other parent just to get a performance out of you."
Okay.
Yeah. I had to kill 6 members of his family in the end, but I got the performance I wanted. What about you, Lauren? Have you killed any of the actors' immediate family?
Well, I'm not going to admit to murder on tape.
Of course.
But I definitely believe in ways of motivating an actor. You definitely threaten them, maybe with their life or to take away what they love.
This is why I always carry a gun.
Or my favourite selection is to just beat the shit out of them. And it doesn't have to be on stage. Like, it can be outside of rehearsals. It can be in front of everyone during rehearsals. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just walk up to, like, don't even say anything. Just the moment you walk into the rehearsals, just find one of the actors and just beat the shit out of them.
Sends a great message, I think.
Oh, yeah. There actually was a director who legitimately, on the first day of every new production, would walk onto set in front of everyone and fire someone.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so the second category is the negotiator. The negotiator is a style of direction in which the director focuses more on sort of improvised scenes and sort of everyone gets their sort of say in the creation process. I think it's a lot like how we were when we were doing theatre at uni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in our theatre company, Sneakyville, Benny and I, well, initially, I don't know how it's going to look now. We have more members, but at the start it was just us 2, and so we would self-direct. And I think for me personally, I'm a negotiator because I would say to Benny, all right, how about we try this scene and try it this way and see what it's like? Or Benny would come with an idea and I'd say, okay, but before we say yes, why don't we try it and see what works best?
Yeah.
Rather than being the dictator and saying, no, I hate it.
It's more of a sort of like a group effort.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone sort of gets their say. I guess everyone, I would say that everyone's more involved in this sort of performance and people care for this type of performance more because they have their creative input.
Yeah, I definitely found that in uni with one of the shows I was doing. A lot of the cast felt more kind of invested because we all had like a piece of writing that we'd written and was included in the play, even though it might have been changed by the director to suit the context in the end. But it was something we made together rather than having the director going, okay, here's what I want you to do. This is how you're going to do it. You have no say at all.
Okay. Next, we have the creative artist. The director sees himself or herself as the creative artist working with materials of dramatic creativity, be they the actors, tech, or costume. Any sort of production team is a tool that the director uses to bring their vision to life. That is the type of director I am. I don't see anyone as a person. I see them as an object that can be used by me.
Okay. I'll remember that.
I don't see actors. I just say stepping stones for me to get to success.
I hope you're joking.
No, obviously.
The thing is, there's probably directors out there who are exactly like that, though.
What Steven Spielberg is, he sees himself as sort of the creative artist and everyone else is a tool for his vision.
Okay.
I would imagine that Stanley Kubrick was more of the dictator, but I could see a bit of the creative artist in him in the way that the actors were there to sort of bring out his vision. Next is the confrontational. In this style of directing, the director is in constant dialogue and debate with the cast and the production team about all creative decisions and interpretations. The director seeks out and actively engages in confrontational conversation. I haven't really met a director like that, but some have come close. No, but they sound like great artists.
The director we did Wojciech with, I can imagine him doing that. He didn't do it, but he kind of did push us a bit in that way.
I didn't think he did anything at all. Felt like we were directing ourselves there.
I felt like he was more of a, I don't know. I want to say dictator.
You can say
but we'll get to that when we talk about how we think the director should be. Okay,
so a few other things that I thought were important to talk about with the directing role is that the director has to maintain a budget with the production. Usually with the producer, they will discuss and work out a budget. And a lot of people, I don't think they realize that directors do a lot of the times have to be at least somewhat wise with money.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally have spent $40,000 on fountains for performances.
Is this the performance I'm thinking of?
No.
Oh.
That's all I want is I want $10 million to make a performance.
Okay.
But I want no oversight. I want someone to give me $10 million and to just let me do whatever I want.
I guess that would be a dream job for a director.
Yeah. It turns into like this art house piece that no one understands.
And everyone hates.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a quote from Anne Bogart in terms of what she thinks director is down to its core. You cannot create results, you can only create the conditions in which something might happen. And I think she's got a point there where, the director can't be in people's heads and can't make them perform. But they can create the sort of area and atmosphere. And essentially that's what a rehearsal is creating the area that will allow this creative output. Also, another thing is that the director has to have a clear idea of casting because they're going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Like, casting is one of the hardest things to do because you're dealing with a lot of people who've worked really hard and they clearly want the part. There's usually only one part to...
Yeah. The way that you cast is often you have a person in mind and then you give it to them without them really auditioning.
Yeah, especially when I do my films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll offer them roles.
Is there a reason why you offer people a role rather than auditioning them?
When I do plays, I audition people. But people get their hopes up and I don't really like tearing them down.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas with film, I can just approach the person that I want and say, would you like to do it? But there is a downfall to that in that I don't see other people's interpretations.
You see it the way that you want it to be performed because you've got that person in mind.
Yeah. Whereas since my plays are all on long form and the person has to live the character, I do like seeing the auditions,
Hmm.
but I do feel horrible when I have to tell people they didn't get this part.
Yeah.
I at the company I was with for years, there was sort of a group that used to basically run it. And when they did casting, one of them became the director of the performance. And when they did casting, all of them got main roles. You know, and
Yeah, that really grinds my gears when that happens.
Yeah.
Particularly as an actor, because auditions already freak me out. But then once you see that these people are friends with that director, therefore it's potential that they've got the role because they're friends with the director.
yeah,
Like, that might not necessarily be the case that they got that part, but
no,
when that
but you're
happens,
kind of
it's
putting
just
yourself
like,
in
it's
that
not.
position. Yeah.
Yeah, you're putting yourself out there, and then someone else goes and gets it because they have a relationship with the director.
This is why you just have to kill the other actors. Then you're the only one who's right for the role.
I guess it would work. Minus all the legal stuff.
Oh, cool. Perform in prison.
That could be interesting. Maybe I'll try that one day.
So, part 3, Legends. So, in this section, we're just going to talk a little bit about different theatre directors that we like or whose work interests us. So, for this section, I chose Julie Taymor. And, Lauren, who did you choose?
Tadashi Suzuki.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can. So Tadashi Suzuki is a Japanese director. He's also a writer and philosopher. He has worked closely with the American director Anne Bogart, who's well known for her work with the viewpoints technique.
You know, I didn't know that she was American.
Yeah, I
thought she was British.
Yeah, I thought she was British or even
Yeah.
Australian.
And it's because, like, she's a very smart, talented woman, and
Yeah.
most Americans are stupid.
Okay, yeah, fair call. Fair call.
You don't like see many like famous American theatre practitioners.
Yeah, I guess not.
I mean, wait,
and
which
so
country is Andrew Lloyd Webber from?
I want to say America.
He's a hack. The melodramatics are calling out Andrew Lloyd Webber as a hack.
Benji Rag is calling him a hack.
Okay. Okay.
And so Suzuki is a co-founder of the City Company. So he founded that theatre company in 1992 with Anne Bogart. And apparently it was his idea to create that company. He proposed it to Anne Bogart and she was like, yeah, sure, why not? Or something along those lines.
Here's a question. You and me like helped create like a company.
Yeah.
Would you do it again, considering like how much hard work it is?
Would I do it again with a different person?
Well, just in general, would you do it again?
I guess it depends what the circumstances was. If our company fell through and failed or whatever and we couldn't continue and someone proposed an idea to create another company, I'd probably consider it. It is a lot of hard work, but it's also rewarding in terms of being able to work for yourself and have a vision that you can fulfill because it's your company.
I might create it. Yeah, it depends on the people. My dream is to create a theatre company with nothing but hard-edged criminals.
Okay.
Nothing but murderers. You know, they have to have at least killed 3 people each. These are my actors. We're going to do children's performances.
Yeah, because before you came to me and said, why don't we create a company after our first performance, I was considering starting my own company. I still don't really know if I want to or not because I enjoy this work and I think going in a different direction would be hard to start out from scratch again and finding the right people to work with. So with our company, because you approached me and said, why don't we continue doing what we're doing, it was a lot easier because we both had the same vision. But with this other company, I have a few people in mind who might be good for acting, but I'm not necessarily sure about directing and producing and running the company.
Sort of being unsure, I find, is frequent in theatre. Like you have to very much like take that sort of leap.
Yeah.
But
sure.
yeah, sorry for cutting you off.
Oh no, that's cool. Suzuki also founded his own company, which is the Suzuki Company of Toga in Japan. And from that, he also created the Suzuki method of actor training, which is a rigorous and famous technique, and it's used to kind of build discipline and strength and focus in actors.
Yeah.
And uses numerous exercises, including stomping and squatting. So, like, those actions are like basically sound normal and easy to do, but the way they're done are so rigorous that they're actually tiring.
Yeah, because our lecturer, Kate, very good theatre maker.
Oh, yeah, it was Kate.
Yeah, she did it once, and she was saying that she did like a day of stomping and then had to crawl up some stairs to go to bed.
Yeah.
It's like she was so broken. I think Kate's actually met Anne Bogart and Suzuki.
I'm not sure about Suzuki, but I'm pretty sure she's met and worked with Anne Bogart.
Yeah.
I just want to read you something from an article about this. So this is an article called The Art of Stillness, the Theatre Practice of Tadashi Suzuki. That's by Paul Elaine, or however you say his last name. And he says about the Suzuki method that for some, it is an answer to the vagaries of psychologically dominated acting and the constraints of realism. For others, it provides a daily routine which hones mental abilities, concentration, rhythmic sensitivity, and spatial awareness, as much as it coaches muscles. Many find it refreshingly challenging regarding the vexed issues of discipline, individualism, and creativity in training and the role of the teacher or trainer. So that kind of gives you an idea of the purpose of it.
Yeah.
Of perhaps why it's so rigorous. It builds that discipline.
A lot of people sort of forget or just don't understand that being an actor does take a ton of discipline and a lot of physicality.
Yeah, I think when you think about it, there's a lot of different actor training methods, and you might wonder why, but they're all so different and focus on different things, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. A lot of people, you know, they say, oh, acting is so easy. But yeah, I think you're right. It does require a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
And particularly in terms of character creation and embodiment of character, that requires like mental concentration as well. For me personally, I don't feel like when I'm acting, I don't feel like it takes a lot of effort to think, okay, I'm doing this character and this is their story and whatever. And I don't know if that's because the work that I've lately done is what we've written. So as we've written it, I've gotten used to the character and it's kind of become natural, but particularly because we've performed it like at least 10 times now, right? I don't know if that's why it just feels so easy, or it's just the way that I act. It doesn't feel like I go through all this mental thinking about what I'm doing.
Maybe you're just an amazing actor.
Maybe I have split personality disorder.
Oh.
Moving on. Fun fact, in high school, Tadashi Suzuki apparently hated theatre. He thought it was a waste of time, but then he started off with the classics of Greek tragedies and started directing them and learning about them, and then is in the position where he is now. So, you know, anything is possible. I think what interested me when I was researching him was the fact of the way he uses theatre helps him understand his political landscape that he's in. So I'm not sure if he lived through the war or he was born just after, but he kind of lived through the effects of the war on Japan and how they were coming out of World War II. And so he uses that in his work. Particularly, he uses different characters to kind of portray what he thinks is like the hopelessness or wretchedness of humanity. So like he uses tramps, broken old people, economic victims to kind of show that personality and that humanness of those characters and their circumstances, the way that humanity is actually, you know, experiencing poverty and suffering in his day-to-day life, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that theatre in my experience, will explore people lower than the actual director in a nice way, but anyone sort of above the director, like rich people or the elite, will be attacked in theatre.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. I don't think all rich people are attacked in theatre, but generally, theatre kind of started out as a political place, right? So you go back to the Greek plays with, is it Dionysus?
Dionysus, yeah. I think that's it, yeah.
The famous Greek playwright, right? Euripides.
Yeah.
He started plays, the plays that he wrote would have a political issue in them. So, like, for example, Medea, she kills her sons over jealousy with her husband, and they play that play out to kind of resolve the issue of the time, right? They were just like everyday people who would come and watch those plays, not the rich or the people who have more class or are more artsy or whatever. You know how, like, there's different kinds of people who see plays now that are a bit snobbish sometimes and think they're all good because they can afford to go see a play, but actually it was rooted in accessibility of everyday people would go and see it because it was like a community event where they'd work out this issue through acting it out.
Yeah, I do wonder, like, how much those sort of old operas and old plays, like Grease and all those sort of plays, like, how much do they actually benefit the theatre world anymore? Like,
yeah,
I think that.
But even when they were first created, were they beneficial or just for entertainment purposes? Because they're not saying anything really.
Well, Grease is a disgusting play.
Yeah, it was only until I was doing an internship last year, and one of the schools I went to for part of the internship were doing Grease, and my internship supervisor was like, when you think about it, Grease is actually really inappropriate for kids. And then I thought, I was like, yeah, it is. Like, teenage pregnancy, and it's like very overly the top sexually in the way that men are treating women.
I think the moral of Grease is literally take your girlfriend or the girl who likes you to a drive-in, force yourself upon her, and not only will there be no repercussions, she'll actually get hotter and fall in love with you.
Well, that's what pisses me off, how it ends. Like, she's going through all this stuff about, you know, I'm Sandra D, I'm so perfect, I'm not going to have sex until I get married, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm going to get a makeover and look hotter so that he'll love me. Like, what the?
Yeah, well, Lauren, you know, the purpose to a woman's life is to bow down to a man.
Of course.
And that play perfectly represents that moral.
Moving on, I'll quickly wrap up.
Yep.
I just wanted to talk about some works that Tadashi Suzuki has directed. So they include King Lear, Mounted Tick at the Dost Car Show. Oh, that says Lost, not Dost. That makes more sense. Dionysus and Electra. And so I wanted to talk about Electra, which is based on a Hugo von Hofmannsthal poem or text. And it actually, the action of the play takes place in a mental institution.
Ooh,
which,
I like it.
According to the thing I was reading before, represents Suzuki's concern with the illness of the human psyche and our social institutions. And so I watched a little short clip of it. It starts off with these 5 guys who are the chorus in wheelchairs. I noticed that every character seemed to be in a wheelchair in some form, except the characters who I assume were like the nurses of the mental institution. In the program notes, Suzuki wrote, "If all the world is a hospital, there may be little hope for getting well. Nevertheless, one can try against vast odds to make clear in what sort of spiritual illness a human being is trapped. And that is what I believe to be the task of the contemporary artist-creator." So I think that's like a really interesting and beautiful quote from him.
Yeah. Actually, I kind of like it.
Like, it talks about the brokenness of humanity in the world, I guess. But the fact that the artist and the creator in the contemporary context, it's their task to kind of sort that out, I guess.
Yeah, or essentially reach out to other people.
Yeah. And I guess that's probably jumped out at me because that's kind of what we want to do with our company. Like, our motto is to give a voice to the voiceless.
Okay. Well, I did Julie Taymor. She's an avant-garde theatre maker. She wanted to do theatre from a very young age. Well, it happened. There we go. So that's the end of her story. She's famous for doing The Lion King in 1997.
When I was born?
Yes. You're as old as The Lion King, the performance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the circle of life.
And it's something. It's the circle.
I'm not a huge fan of Elton John.
Circle of life.
But yeah, for this performance, she became the first woman to ever win a Tony for Best Director. She has a very it's so hard to explain her style. It is almost like paintings coming to life. There's just this beautiful sort of artistic look, like everything's been painted, and you know that sort of Japanese sort of water painting.
Yeah.
I would sort of describe her style as a lot of that. Yeah.
In theatre?
Yeah, and film. She's done some films.
That's really
She is widely recognized for her production of The Lion King, which opened in 1997. It is the highest grossing Broadway production of all time and the longest running. It's running every night. Well, for the last... It's probably not running now. Probably not.
Nothing's
With
running now.
covert going on, it's probably not running. But speaking of a performance that's not running anymore, in 2015, she was inducted into the Theatre Hall of Fame for a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Go her.
Yeah. She seems to be quite a charming, sort of artistic woman. I find her speaking quite captivating. So I have a quote from her. So in theatre, as much as the story is crucial and the book and the language and the telling of the story, how it's told, the mechanisms, the methods, and how you use it is equal to the story itself. This idea that the script is very important in theatre, but also what you do around it, like how you create costumes, how you create the look, what you block out with your actors is almost as important as the actual script. And I would agree.
I definitely agree with that.
I think that if you have a script that's average, you can polish it up a lot with your production and make it look amazing. I think if it looks amazing and feels amazing, people will still be taken into that world. If you have a great script, which is always the case, and you do a real shitty production of it, the script is going to show the flaws of your production.
Yeah.
But yeah, in 2000 and I think it was 2008, she started working on Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. It was the most expensive Broadway production in history with a budget of $75 million and also held the opening sales record for the opening week.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, it had tons of people getting really injured. And to add to even more horror, Bono and Edge made the music. The producer of it died before he filled out the contracts.
It just sounds like it's doomed from the beginning.
They went to Disney to ask them to help fund the performance, and Disney told them to go fuck off. We don't want any part of that train wreck.
Oh, yeah.
It's a theatre performance, but it reminds me a lot of Apocalypse Now in the sort of idea that they have this director who has this great vision and just keeps asking for more money, and there's no one there to hold them. There's no producer there to sort of hold this director accountable or say, maybe you shouldn't be spending all this money. And it looks beautiful, it really does, but it just, there's no way I was going to make this money back. Part 4, your hot take. In this section, we're going to talk about what we think makes a good director. So, Lauren, what do you think makes a good or bad director?
I think if someone is strictly dictatorial, makes them a bad director. If they are like, me, my vision, not going to listen to anyone, do what I say, or shut up. Or like that example you said, I'm going to kill your family just to motivate you. Hey. That's probably a bad director, right?
I'm great at motivating people.
You are, but that's probably not the best way to go around it.
I shot his grandma on opening night in front of him to get that emotion.
Well, okay. But I think a good director is kind of the opposite of that. They set the environment where you feel comfortable to work with the director and the other actors. You feel comfortable to be able to speak up and say how you're feeling or what you're doing, or asking the director a question about your scene. Or I guess even if you have an idea of the way that you think your character should go, but maybe it's not specifically scripted that way, asking them. And even if they say no, at least they've let you ask that question. Yeah.
I think mutual respect is needed,
Yes, definitely.
Also, I like directors that will manage to keep their emotions in check during the performance. Well, like some days it's going to go terrible.
Oh, yeah.
We've all been there where we've had just absolutely shit days, and I don't think a director should lash out at people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about, that they shouldn't lash out. There was an example where when I was in uni, there was a play I was in, and the director and the stage manager just butted heads over some stupid thing. But instead of, taking their problems home and dealing with it later, they did it in front of everyone and were like at each other's throat.
That's the worst.
Taking up rehearsal time. I think it might have even been production week, actually, because we were in the theatre where we were performing.
Yeah.
And they were just at each other's throat over this literal one detail. Because I think it was an issue, and the director was saying it was the director's responsibility, but the stage manager was saying it was the stage manager's responsibility.
Yeah.
And so they were just bickering about who should take responsibility for it and fix it up or whatever. Yeah.
At this other company, one time, it was production week. We're doing a play where there was sort of two characters wearing the same costume, yeah? But they had to appear as the same character.
Mm.
And one preferred to have the jacket. It was a long jacket, and one preferred to have it open, and the other one preferred to have it closed.
Oh, no.
And as an entire group, a 4-hour fucking discussion on whether or not that coat should be open or closed happened.
That's just a time waster.
Oh, just fucking pick one, guys.
Mm.
How do you reckon a director should handle themselves? Because it's going to happen if they don't like a member of the cast or crew.
Ooh, that's a tough one. If it's a member of the cast, maybe you shouldn't have cast them.
Yeah.
I think for me, if I don't like someone, I won't actually tell them and I'll hold it in until everything's over, which is not the greatest. But I think if you don't like someone in your cast or crew and you're working with them, you should still show them basic respect and do your role to the best you can.
Yeah.
Despite that,
I don't think it's wrong to ask a member of the crew to leave if things are getting that bad.
Yeah.
As long as you have a backup.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But you've got to also ask
yourself. A crew would be
yourself,
easier to replace than a cast member who you couldn't stand.
Yeah, it's kind of weird like that, isn't it? But also you've got to ask yourself if you're the problem as well. If you're having a fight with every... Yeah, but if you're having a fight with every member of the crew and every member of the cast and they're all getting along, then you're the problem.
Yeah, yep.
I think a good director is someone that gets along, helps nourish creativity, and keeps themselves in the cast in check. So this part is the burning question. In this section, we come up with a question and try to resolve it. So this week's question is, do you think it's okay for non-trans actors to play trans characters? Now, before you answer, Lauren, I put this on social media, and I have some of their answers. Would you like to hear it?
Why not?
Okay, so Daniel Adams says, yes, it's called acting. Jamie Alfred says, yes, just like a trans person should be able to play a non-trans person on the stage. If they have the talent, go with it. Rebecca Flair says no. Y'all think. She literally wrote y'all.
Love it.
Yeah. So, no, y'all think acting exists in a vacuum because it could hypothetically be okay under circumstances. Doesn't mean it is. The industry is stacked against trans actors, and people writing plays do not like trans actors. Therefore, we are representing a people without their input at all. Jane Kelly said, I think that most of the time the answer is yes, as long as it is done respectfully. That being said, if a trans actor also auditions, and under the right circumstances, it should be equally given to that person. And at last, all of these are American. Cam Brillian. As a trans person myself, I honestly do not care if an actor is cis playing a trans person, as long as they are representing us in an accurate, authentic way. So what are your thoughts on that?
I don't see there being an issue with a non-trans person playing a trans character. I agree with that first person who said it's acting. You're just acting. Like a straight person can easily play a gay person. Now, understand trans and gay is quite different. I don't think you should be choosing someone to act in a role because they are that identifier. They might relate better to the character, but at the end of the day, as a director, in casting, your role is to choose the best person for the part. So if someone who's not trans comes up and auditions for the role of a trans character, and then someone who is trans auditions for that same role, but the person who isn't trans is better at the role, then I think it's fair for them to get it. If it's the other way around and the trans person is the better actor, cool, go for it.
See, I'm in two minds about this. One side of me says it's acting, and as you said, like a straight person can play a gay person can play a straight person. But at the same time, you wouldn't get a white person to play a black person.
No.
So there is different levels of where it is okay.
Yeah.
So we have to admit that it's okay for people to play different sexualities, but it's not okay for people to play different races. And I think that trans kind of falls in between, where I can see equally why it's not okay for a cis person to play a trans actor, because they are underrepresented in the theatre world. But at the same time, some productions don't have the opportunity to have a trans actor play a trans character.
Yeah.
Like, if I was casting a trans character, I would go for a trans actor. But if I couldn't find one, or I couldn't find one that met my vision, then I would have to go with a person who isn't trans.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it really rests on your shoulders as a director of what you're looking for and what you envision, and I guess your personal, not bias, but what you prefer.
Yeah, and
whether you prefer someone who is that sexuality, or whether you're looking for anyone, but you have a specific vision of how you want the character to be.
Yeah, and either way, you're going to have to argue it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to, defend your decision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this part is Benny's Weird Theatre. So in this section, I will ask Lauren to look at some weird theatre that I found on the internet that I really enjoy. This week was High Top. High Tops is a Christian moral play by Debbie Kerner and Ernie Reneto. They are American musicians best known as the creators of Salty, the Singing Songbook. The storyline is 3 angels are sent to Earth by Gabriel on a fact-finding mission to blend in with the teenagers at a high school and learn firsthand what peer pressure is and drug abuse is. Oh, but all is not well, as Lucifer also decides to act as one of the teenagers to steal souls for his side. So, Lauren, did you love it?
I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
What was your thoughts?
Well, I've been thinking over it since you and I last discussed it with Dia. Well, as I'm a Christian, and I didn't find it preachy. And I don't know why. I don't know if that's just because I agree with what they're saying, or it's kind of like a lens that my Christianity kind of covers that and it doesn't feel preachy. But at the same time, there have been times where I've had people preaching at me and I have felt preachy, like they're trying to convert me. So I think it's just the way that they go about it. Personally, I felt like that's not what High Tops was doing.
It's sort of a sliding scale. Like, it is preachy, but like it's nowhere near like as preachy as like the Passion of the Christ, anything like that.
I haven't seen all of Passion of the Christ, but I also don't think that's preachy. I think that's just trying to represent the story of Jesus
it's
in
preachy.
As much gruesome detail and accuracy as possible.
I disagree. I felt that it was the thing that made High Tops funny to me was just how cringy it was.
Yeah, that's what I found too. And I assume it was written in the 80s or something by the way that it's performed.
Well, I think early 80s. I think it was... the version I showed you was recorded in 85.
Yeah.
The nerd character in this has way more charisma than any nerd character should have. I feel like he should have been the popular one.
Almost.
The whole play all the time just made fun of its characters. It just insulted its characters all the time. And then at the very end, like when one of them dies of an overdose, you're expected to care.
Yeah, I did think that was a bit over the top, how she was the most awful, mean character throughout the whole thing. Like, she was nasty to everyone. And then all of a sudden, she's overdosed. All the other characters were feeling sorry. They didn't want her to be dead. But also we were kind of having that, oh my gosh, I hope she isn't dead.
I was just hoping she wasn't going to sing again. What did you think?
Speaking of the singing, it really annoyed me and confused me the way that they sounded when they were singing. Because at the start, they were really high-pitched and annoying and sounded
what about the two nerds?
Yeah.
But
But then I think it's Heather. She starts singing and she sounds like an actual adult. And I'm like, hang on.
Yeah, she she actually had a music career.
There were parts, like for example, when the nerds were singing, they sounded really screechy and like they were putting on that annoying voice.
They were
But then there were parts.
They weren't even an 80s stereotype of nerds, though, were they?
They
were
were
like a 40s stereotype of nerds. In fact, I think this whole play happened in the 40s.
I was going to say it was very outdated even for the 80s.
Yeah. Sorry for cutting you off.
I feel like the writing of it, they were wanting to be in high school and relatable to high school students, but the environment was so, like, unrecognizable. It didn't feel like they were in high school, really, to me at least.
It felt like they were in some weird purgatory suffering for their sins.
It really did. Like, I don't know, at the start it was weird, and then it got to the high school. Because I kind of have, like, the image of what I should expect to see a musical to look like, right? But after the first song, the actors started bowing and clapping. And I was like, why are you clapping either for yourself or like on stage? And then maybe 10 minutes later, it was explained that they were clapping because it was actually a performance that they were at of the group, the High Tops.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now it makes sense. So I kind of like started from the very start, like confused about what was going on.
And it didn't help that they dubbed the audience.
Yeah, I just
like the fake audience noises. Oh, come on, they're not that funny. You know, like the bit when the jock is like opens up his locker and the weed attacks him and he's like, where's Superman when you need him? I swear, one of the audience members had a laughing heart attack. That was the greatest joke that man's ever heard in his life.
Him going, oh, Mum gave me a salad and like a month later it's still in here. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. It would be gross, but it wouldn't grow a whole plant. Like, that's not possible.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was a sandwich. I thought he had like stashed like weed.
No, he said something about a salad or something that his mum had given him.
Yeah.
But then, I think he also mentioned like spilling water or something, so it was like that's how it watered itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting you mentioned the singing because like one of the girls actually went on to like record an album or two.
Okay, that makes sense because there were times when they weren't screechy that they sound like actual adults, like actual singers. And I was like, hang on, what? Like that opening gospel song, I was like, what is going on here?
What did you think of the acting in it?
It was so over the top. Like, I get they're playing stereotypes, but like it's that play acting of act over the top.
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain it.
I wonder if it
like
was
you could tell
kids.
that they were acting was the point.
Yeah, like I remember the scene between the angel and the jock. I thought that was the only amount of chemistry in this performance. Like those two should have been lovers. What about the angels?
I found it really odd when the angels came on scene and they seemed to that the guy angel and the guy, whatever his name was, Tony.
Yeah. They looked
just
like
suddenly
fucking
automatically got
when they first
along.
came on.
Yeah, I saw that too. It looks like they had microphones. Not like handheld mics, so like side mics like you normally would for a musical. But then other times you couldn't see anyone with a mic and I was like, okay.
I'll bring up a picture. They look like Gary Snyder from the Psychic Companions Network.
Yeah.
I'll bring up a picture.
Was this performed as a professional production or was it by amateurs or it's not a school because they're obviously older than school-age kids, but do you know?
I think it was, I honestly don't know actually.
Had you heard of the High Tops before you found it or did you just search weird theatre and it came up?
Oh, I've known about it for years.
Oh my gosh.
Doesn't he look like the angel?
Yeah, before they stripped down and became the school kids. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they were all psychics.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Is that his actual hair?
No.
I was going to say, that's a wig. How many stars do you give it?
How many stars do I give it? I give it 4 stars. I mean, it's cringy. It's preachy. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, the thing is with the cringiness, it kind of makes you want to keep watching to see if it gets any more cringy or gets better.
And believe me, if you watch this at home, it does.
I give it a 3 stars. 3 out of 10. Recommend it if you want to, but also don't really recommend it.
Okay. All right. I think they'll end this episode. So, Lauren, thank you for being on in our first episode.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to the listener. And remember, no matter where you are, you matter. Bye!
Bye!
Guess I'd better put these books in my locker.
Is this your book?
Yes, it is. I'm so sorry. I'm just so clumsy. Oh, I can't believe it. Look what I've done. Oh, I'm bumping into everything today. Oh, forgive me. Please.
Isn't she gorgeous? I'm getting goosebumps. My knees are knocking. My mouth is dry. What are these feelings churning inside me? Is this true love at last, or just the flow? I love you. I love you. And though it's just first sight, we'll take the time and make it right. We'll make it right. We'll make it right.
Why is he staring? Oh, look at me. I'm getting nervous. Oh, my hands are trembling. My feet are cold. What are these feelings welling inside me? This is so new to me. What is this? Am I going crazy? I'm all confused, though.
So angelic,
So good looking,
almost glowing.